What's going on, guys? Welcome to the week 11 recap.
Week 11.
Week 11 recap. We're going to go over every game. We're going to discuss what went right for some teams, what went wrong, and just going to talk shit,
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so first game, let's go, I guess, here in order. Saints at Eagles. So the Eagles beat the Saints. I think the Eagles now, if I'm not mistaken, have won. Well, let me just verify that. I think it's 3 in a row, though.
They didn't just beat the Saints. They beat the brakes off the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, this was another one of those games for the Saints where they pretty much get dominated the whole game, and then they kind of make it slightly interesting, at least when you look at the final score at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, the Eagles have won 3 of 4, and the only game they lost was at the Chargers. And so that's good. And it's really – and this is so funny because I'm always, pounding the table for the run game, right? And then what happens? They run the ball 50 times or whatever it was, or over 40 against the Lions. They win that game easily. What was the final score? Now, 44-6. Then they go to the Chargers. They lose a tight, 3-point game. It was very close till the end. Then they continue this very run-heavy approach. They beat the brakes off the Broncos in Denver. They come back, and as you mentioned, they beat the hell out of the Saints. And
Jalen Hurts dominated in this one.
Yeah, what do you have, 3 rushing touchdowns?
He sure did.
I mean, come on. And he didn't even throw 30 passes. See, that's the formula. Keep them to 25 to 30 attempts.
Run-heavy offense.
Exactly. I mean, and they've got the backs to do it in terms of depth. I mean, Miles Sanders returned this week, which was great for me, even though I benched him, which actually worked out okay for me. I just have so many running backs in our league. But the point is, he even saw, and what I believe was his career high, or it was either his, not career high, season high, or it matched his season high. I believe that was the most carries he's seen. Yeah, it was. That was the most carries Miles Sanders seen all year, and it was his first game back from injury. So as I was mentioning, if you had him, hold him, 16 carries for 94 yards. Now, he didn't get in the end zone, and he lost a fumble, so his points weren't anything crazy. But again, that was just his first game back, and it was in a very difficult matchup. So right now, I think the Eagles, the way they're playing, they're matchup proof in terms of Devontae Smith is to a degree because of this run game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts is going to run it 15 times a game. Why not?
Right.
He's on a rookie contract. Let's find out if he's the guy. Give him every opportunity to succeed. Run him 12 to 15 times a game. On more than half of those runs, he's not taking big shots. He's not getting cracked.
I mean, the Eagles have over 175 yards in 4 straight games.
On the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
dude,
this is a complete run-heavy offense, and it's paying its dues. Jalen Hurts is, 1 week better. So,
yeah,
he looked really good on this one.
Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, and Jalen Hurts combined for 50 carries for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. And that's against the Saints, the best run defense in the league.
Yeah,
literally.
Hurts only threw it 24 times in this one.
Yep. And Darius Slay scored his 3rd touchdown in the season. They took the ball away from the Saints offense. And, I'll give it to Mark Ingram. He was pretty decent all day. And then Trevor Siemian was at least resilient. But it was pretty much, like we said, complete domination. No turnovers for Hurts, and they're forcing they're forcing turnovers. They're out-rushing the hell out of their opponents, and they're getting takeaways. And they're not only getting them, but they're scoring touchdowns. That was Slay's 3rd touchdown of the season. He plays defense. That's pretty wild. So Jake Elliott is not missing kicks. He's going crazy if you had him in fantasy like I did in the league.
Yeah, what do you have, 19 points?
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. Last week he was a big reason why I beat you. And, he did have 19 for me this week. Excuse me, in our league at least. So,
that's why we need to eliminate the kicker position.
No, that's why you asked me that. I said no. I always have
flex.
Great luck with kickers for some reason. I
know, but
I like the strategy of it.
Yeah, but
it's luck, but I like that.
It is. You play the matchup and hope to get lucky.
Yeah, the way I thought about it was they're going to move the ball, but I don't know if they'll score a bunch of touchdowns against the Saints. And that turned out to be pretty much accurate. They still scored 40 points, so they did score some touchdowns too. But, hey, it is what it is. But, yeah, man, good win for the Eagles. They've won 3 of 4 now, and they are I don't think they are technically the 7 seed yet, but they're close, and they're very much in the mix for it. And I believe they play the Giants next week, and the Giants are currently battling it out with the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 2 games behind the Cowboys now. So, and the Cowboys got the Raiders this week on Thanksgiving. So, I think they have a bounce back.
And I don't think they've played Dallas yet, have they?
No, I think
they have. They've played them. They played them in week 3. Dallas won big. That's right. I remember that.
And then they play them again when? Week 17?
I think the final week of the season.
Yeah. 17?
18 this year, yeah. Okay, so that's cool. So if they can just get in one game within one game, look, the division's going to be a long shot in my opinion, but I definitely think they're going to be in the mix for one of those wild card spots up until the very end. On the flip side of it, the Saints are now 5-5, so they're still ahead of the Eagles, but the Eagles being a half game behind the Saints, just because they played one more game, but they're half a game behind them with a tiebreaker over them now. So, that's crucial. Jameis Winston, by the way, we don't look at him as a guy having a great season, but they've lost 3 straight games. All 3 of those games were not games that were games that Jameis Winston didn't start. Yep. So they beat the Bucs in that game that Jameis played for, I think, the first half of it or whatever. Then they ended up now have lost 3 straight Simeon games, and so that's not very good. I will say Traquan Smith and Adam Trautman's injured. He had a good game, 5 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. He's hurt now. I think he'll miss a few weeks. But, again, the Saints are reeling, and I told you this a few weeks ago. I said the Saints might fall off a cliff here.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was tough for them to lose Winston. So
yeah, I mean, what he was doing was connecting on big plays and taking care of the ball.
Yep.
Like it was exactly what we thought could happen, or at least maybe not to the ceiling, but it wasn't over yet. He was playing really, really good football. And he wasn't making mistakes.
Tough sledding for the Saints.
Yep. We'll see how it works out for him. But let's talk some, I guess we'll make this one quick. Miami beats the Jets. Miami is now 4-7. The Jets dropped to 2-8. So the Dolphins, it was a close game, right? But Miami has quietly won 3 in a row, and they haven't allowed more than 17 points in any of those 3 games. As a matter of fact, they're allowing just 12 points per game over their last 3. So they are, look, it was what it was, right? It was a take care of the football Tua for the most part. He did throw an interception on the second possession, but he went down on the first drive, went 6 of 6 for like 60 yards, and that led to a Waddle handoff for a touchdown from the 1-yard line. The offense after that, the offense hit a little bit of a lull, went punted basically after, or they threw an interception and then punted for the next 3 possessions. But then in the opening drive of the second half, Tua hits the 65-yarder to Matt Collins, and so they got their things going. Myles Gaskin had another high workload game, 26 touches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So that was good news. And Jalen Phillips, talking about the Miami defense, which I'm concerned for as a Panther fan next week. But Miami's defense with rookie Jalen Phillips has had at least a half a sack in each of the last 3 games. So he's been a guy that's, rookie first rounder, is starting to really make an impact on the football game. And you can just tell that without even watching the tape. You can tell it by just like having the game on and just hearing his name being said.
Yeah.
A lot of times that gives you an indication of how much of an impact the guy's making, especially at his position. So, but yeah, man, Miami goes in there. The Jets hung tough. Flacco played all right, and my guy Michael Carter played well until he got hurt. Looks like he's going to miss a few games now, but he popped off a 39-yard run, carried the ball 9 times for 63 yards. And
Elijah Moore
went off again.
Yes, he did. 8 for 141 and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Man, was he a great start in fantasy this week.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I told you guys, I think, before this week that he's basically a borderline must-start now.
Yeah.
And
other side of the football, Jalen Waddle doing his thing, had 8 receptions for 65 yards, didn't have a touchdown, but, 9 targets. You can't complain about it, and he caught 8 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the role that I was hoping that they would give him, which is a high volume, a little bit lower in terms of like it's not Henry Ruggs-esque in terms of what he did his rookie year is like 20 yards a catch guy, but it's like 8 or 9 yards a catch, but it's super high volume, so you can count on him in fantasy on a weekly basis. And Lamar
Jackson was out this week for me in fantasy, so I had to make a quick decision on a on a QB.
And do you want to explain to the audience why you chose Tua over Cam Newton? Is there any,
Well,
why you thought that was the right idea?
because of the matchup.
No, actually, I might have picked up Cam right before this week's games in the different league.
Yeah, because he might. I don't even remember seeing him there. But obviously, I played the matchup in this.
No,
one.
it was in my sleep. It was in this one of my sleeper leagues because. Okay, so anyways, I'll let you pass. I'll let you have a break there. But look, Elijah Moore, I heard fantasy rapper, my guy, say that since week 8, Elijah Moore's not just a wide receiver 1, but he's the wide receiver 1. That's interesting because I didn't realize he was that dominant. But again, I just heard that from one of the people I follow on social media. But I think it's accurate, and I hope I'm not messing up the stat. But, yeah, I mean, that's impressive. So until further notice, Elijah Moore is a must start. And I know the week before he had that garbage time touchdown, but
it seems like his floor is getting higher and higher every week.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's been very productive. He's been double-digit plus points every single week, for the last few weeks. So that's cool. And then we got a Jets game versus the Texans next week, which should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at least it'll be a competitive game in all likelihood. But Miami gets Carolina next week. As I mentioned, I'm a little bit concerned because they're kind of surging. And this was a 10-win team last year. So I'm not ready to say they're dead yet in terms of even their own playoff race. Yeah. But more importantly, for my concerns, I'm not ready to say they're not going to win 4 in a row against my Panthers next week just because I feel like that's a tough matchup for us. So, all right, let's move on. Where are we at? Oh, yeah. The Washington football team goes into my house and beats my Panthers 27-21. I mean, the Panthers had their opportunities late there, just wasn't to be. Cam Newton started this game hot with an 11-play. So he gets ball first, 11 plays, 60-yard touchdown. He throws a touchdown pass to DJ Moore. Panther fans, the whole Panther Nation was basically rejoicing at that point, right? And then they forced a 3-and-out, I believe it was, or they forced an immediate punt. And so it looked like, okay, and then we had to punt. It
looked like you guys were going to win that game.
It felt like it felt like it all.
The energy was there.
Yeah, Cam was
early,
fired up. I heard what's the name? Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless today, and they were both like bashing on that Cam after the touchdown run that he had, that he ran to midfield and put the ball down. They were saying like that's too much and all this stuff. Like, I don't know why that's too much. I don't think that that's anything crazy. He didn't even get penalized for it, so maybe he knew that going away from the other players is, maybe that's why he did. I don't understand. I think people just have a problem with Cam Newton, and I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I don't really think that was a big issue at all. I don't think it was a distraction to the team at all. I don't think it motivated the Washington players as they were suggesting to now you celebrated, we're gonna beat you. Like, dude, these guys are pros, man. You're not in a position where you have to get extra motivation like that, or where it's really gonna make a shit of a difference. So. But I just thought Washington played really well. They were much better on third downs. That was really the story of this game. They were 46% compared to Carolina's 22%.
I mean, yeah, Taylor Heineke played out of his mind.
Washington ran 66 plays to the Panthers 47. That's a big. It's tough to win when the other team has the ball the entire time. It's tough to get any. The Panthers only possessed the ball one time in the third quarter. It was a whole lot of nothing in terms of that. And it was mainly because Washington had their run game going, or they were committed to it. It wasn't even like they were dominant or anything on the ground. They just
they averaged 4.8 yards to carry.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, it just didn't feel like they were, gashing us by any means. It just felt like they were moving the ball consistently.
Yeah, longest run was 20 yards from Antonio Gibson, who had a good scoreless game himself.
Yeah, he had a solid game. But, like, the important thing, again, was that they were completing basically 50% of their third downs, So that's crucial. And, again, that a lot of times is because of the run game. If you run it twice on first and second down and you get 4 yards each, now it's 3rd and 2. You know what I mean? So 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. And then one time when they didn't actually make the third down, Taylor Heineke made the play of his life on, 4th and 4. Ron immediately goes for it, of course. Riverboat Ron, back in his old stomping grounds, goes for it. Heineke rolls out, makes a really nice throw, converts it, and plays like that were the difference. They made them more often than the Panthers did. So kudos to Washington. And their defense finished it off with forced two turnover on downs. And on that last play, I was looking at it on the replay, and there was just no one open. Like, it wasn't like Cam missed somebody because he's not understanding the offense quickly enough, or there was just no one open. So and they ended up, I think, sacking him. So it was a good performance by both teams in all reality, because Cam looked great to me. I mean, to hop off your couch, learn an offense, come in a week later and start the game, complete like 70% of your passes.
Yeah, I mean, he was 21 for 27 for 189 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Took one sack for 3 yards. He also
that was the game-losing play, basically.
He also had, 46 yards on the ground with a touchdown. So he played well.
Yeah, and he had 24-yard touchdown run, and where he looked explosive as ever.
Yeah, he looked like Superman.
Like I was saying, even last year and the year before and this year even, his legs are not – they haven't aged almost anything in terms of, like, he hasn't lost a step in that way. The only thing that's lost a step is his arm, from the standpoint of just it's not as juiced up as it used to be because of the shoulder injuries and things like that. I think they were even to the opposite shoulder, but still that's kind of the only thing that has lost any bit of a step. But even that looks good, because that touchdown pass to McCaffrey, 27-yard touchdown pass, that throw was an awesome pass. It was very accurate. It had the exact right amount of trajectory on it, and for him to be able to make that play, that wasn't his first read either, was encouraging for me. The reason I'm not optimistic about next week is just because of the matchup. I think the Dolphins, a team that's surging against the Panther team, then it's going to be in Miami. They're going to be up for it because they know that's basically win or go home time for them. The Panthers are in a position where they're going to have to run the football to be successful against Miami. You're just going to have to, because we saw in that game against the Ravens in particular, where if they get you in a position where you have to pass it every time, they're just going to blitz you, and they're going to play tight man coverage in the back end, and it's not that easy to overcome. So
yeah,
we'll see, especially with Cam not knowing the offense as well as he would have if he'd been there all year long. When you're getting blitzed like that, it's going to be tough. So that matchup concerns me at least a little bit. So, but overall, I think the Panthers will still be okay. They're 5-6 now. Washington is now a team that I think has won 3 straight. Let me double check that. They've won. Let's see. They beat the Buccaneers last week.
They've won 2 straight.
Yeah, so they won 2 in a row after their bye. So they had the bye week. Going into the bye, they lost 4 straight. Then they beat the Bucs last week, and they beat us this week, and they get Seattle on Monday night. That's gonna be a game.
Yeah, good game.
Yeah, it's actually a good game, weirdly enough. But look,
Washington
Taylor Heineke
has a chance. If Heineken plays like he did this week, they definitely have a chance to win that game.
They absolutely have a chance to win it, and they also have a chance to get in that. That's another team that I really believe, and I said as much on the podcast last week, they have a chance to sneak into that 7 seed. I mean, it's not, and now they own what could be a gigantically important tiebreaker over the Panthers. So the Panthers now hold the tiebreaker loss. They lost the tiebreaker to the Vikings, which is why they're currently the 7 seed. The Eagles, which is a team that I believe has the exact same record as us now, and Washington, a team that is a half a game behind us. So we don't have – if any of those teams are in the mix with us for that 7 spot, they get in. We don't. That's devastating. That means we have to finish better than them record-wise, or they're going to get the nod over us because of that head-to-head tiebreaker. So tough one to lose. And in, I believe, 3 of the last 4 or 5 games have been against all those teams I just mentioned. Philly, or maybe not the Philly one, but Washington and Minnesota and all that stuff. So it's some tough one to swallow for Carolina in Cam's homecoming. But as I mentioned, man, Washington made more plays in critical moments, was much better on 3rd down, and Taylor Heineke, no mistakes, and just played really good, clean football.
Yeah, he did.
It was really good, man. So shout out to them and Riverboat Ron getting the win in his return to Charlotte. I think a lot was made about Cam's return, and Ron Rivera's like, oh really? Me and Taylor Heineke played there too, and then Joey Sly, the kicker, posted on Instagram, I'm back. Oh man, I love it. But good for them. Again, tough to swallow for me, but I'll take it. We'll keep on moving. All right, the Colts beat the brakes off of the Buffalo Bills, and I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but that's because it keeps happening. They don't run the ball with the running backs. They ran the ball 11 times, the Buffalo running backs in that game. Jonathan Taylor ran at 32 for 185 and 4 scores on the ground, plus a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor went nuts.
Dude, I saw somebody that tweeted today that Jonathan Taylor, like an average back, would be good in this system because he would get what's blocked for you, right? So all you people that are running back isn't important, kind of truthers, that may be the case. Like a Marlon Mack, for example, he would have an 1,100-yard season in this situation. We saw it a few years ago when they were even a little bit better along the offensive line and what they had at the skill player positions and stuff like that, and at quarterback with, I think it was Andrew Luck at the time. But Jonathan Taylor is a legitimate MVP candidate because he's not just a good back. He is an elite running back. He can catch the football. We've seen him at times this year catch the ball and go 70 yards to the house. We've seen this on multiple occasions, and we saw it last year as well. You know, he has that kind of game-changing ability, but he also has the down-to-down consistency that a Derrick Henry has and why he's a great player. You know, and you're seeing right now in Tennessee, like, what does it look like when you just put in any old back there? And no disrespect to Adrian Peterson, but at this point in his career, you know, he's not anything like these guys. And so it just shows you the difference. That Tennessee offense looked awful against Houston. Right? And so if you took Jonathan Taylor out of the equation in Indianapolis, they would be a fraction of what they are offensively right now.
Yeah, 32 carries, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns, had another 3 for 19 through the air and another touchdown. I mean, went completely nuts. I think scored the most fantasy points in the history of our league, I believe.
Wow. Alvin Kamara last year, 6 touchdowns, didn't do it?
Maybe I'll have to go look.
Was that last year or the year before?
That was last year.
Okay.
In the playoffs. Fantasy
playoffs, yeah.
Yes.
Against the Vikings.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Indy ran the ball 46 times, and they called 20 passes.
Yeah. And like you said, the Buffalo didn't run it at all. I mean, they're exposed now. They have no run game, 0 run game, and it's costing them games at this point.
Well, more importantly, like, look at the Houston Texans won this week, right? They averaged like 2.5 yards a carry, but they ran it more than they passed it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have what you believe to be an elite running game, right, you still have to do it. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to have games like this. And when they get to the point where you're down by a couple scores and they just know that they don't have to worry about defending the run at all, it's going to get ugly. You know, even with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, all that stuff, and a pretty good pass-blocking offensive line and a great quarterback, and I haven't lost any bit of faith in Josh Allen. It's just that when you take away the threat of the run, you become predictable. It's the one thing you do not want to be offensively, especially in this league. These coaches are too good. The talent is never at that far of a discrepancy. You know what I mean? And these guys can compete with you. I mean, it's tough. Tough one to swallow for Buffalo now. They are, where are they at? They are out of the division lead. So what was it? A few weeks ago, I think the Bills were 4-1. The Patriots were 1-4. And you would have laughed at me if I said, hey, 5 weeks' time, the Patriots will be back in first place in the division. Like, nobody would have believed that. And sure, especially the way the Bills were doing it to teams. They were just destroying bad teams, like you should do if you're that type of team. But, yeah, man, it was huge for the Colts, number one, to stay alive in the playoff picture, because now they're 6-5. That's a team that was 1-5. From 1-5 to 6-5. And guess what? Buffalo is a half a game ahead of Indianapolis right now because they haven't played as many games. They've just played one fewer game. But similar to what I was saying about Carolina, if the Colts and the Bills finish with the same record, the Colts get in. That's how important that is. And guess what? I don't see the Patriots slowing down much. So
no,
it would, to me, looking at that Patriots-Titans game that'll be this week, I'm starting to say that's a Patriot game all the way without being too recency biased. I think I was already leaning that way. But now my point is the Bills need help to get in potentially, because, again, if you finish with the same record as the Colts at the end of the year, the Colts are going to get in over you. So that's huge, and the Colts are scorching hot right now. Kwity Paye's even heating up. He had a sack in each of the last 2 games, and he's also had 8 pressures in the over the, I believe, the previous 3 weeks. And yeah, man. So the Colts are dangerous. They are, I don't think, going anywhere. And I think that, as a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if this just continues for them, because their formula, they're not asking Wentz to do a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans to beat you. They're just saying, hey, Carson, don't turn it over, and when we need a 3rd and 6, get the conversion for us. And that's really his whole gig. And guess what? Oftentimes it's not even 3rd and 6, it's 3rd and 3, because they have a run game and they're not afraid to use it.
Yeah, they can just rely on Jonathan Taylor, and hopefully he keeps doing this in every game. They'll win the Super Bowl.
Imagine Jonathan Taylor didn't have 20 carries in a game up until last week was the first time. And in this one, of course, he went over 30. So, just look at the offense and how they've been the last few weeks since they've been giving Taylor the ball more. He's the guy that he hasn't been getting 20 carries, and it just hasn't mattered.
He's clearly deserved every carry he's gotten.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Jacksonville game, he had over 100 yards in the first half. In the first half of that game, then they went away from him completely, and it was like the Jaguars almost came back and won, So this game, they were like, we're not going away from Taylor. We're going to make the Bills had given up 5 touchdowns to running backs on the season. Taylor had 5. Yeah. So it was one of those kind of just ridiculous games. And, man, I'll tell you what, Jonathan Taylor plays the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. He is matchup proof.
I mean, at this point, you have to say he is.
Well, over under 87 rush yards, Taylor next week.
Over. Easy.
Wow. No one does that to the Bucs, except for Khalil Herbert. That's why I'm asking. But yeah, man,
and Jonathan Taylor.
I'm kind of with you. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to do his thing next week, and I think that I think the Colts are very much legitimate. I think
they definitely exposed the Bills. The Bills have a lot to figure out, especially within the run game. They want Josh Allen to play hero ball like we discussed last week. So, yeah, if I'm part of the Bills Mafia, I'm worried.
Yeah, I'm worried too, and I think ultimately, if I had to bet on this, I'd say that they'll get it figured out and they'll be okay. Because number one, I believe in the players. The talent there is great. The culture there is great. The coaching staff there is great. So if in fact they were just inadvertently saying Josh Allen would let Josh cook, I think that this will bring them to say, hey, we were good pre-2020 when we were 53% run, even if you don't think you can be successful with the running backs running the football, which I think Breida, you've been pointing out, had another decent game, and I think he had 3 carries, but he had 20 or 30 yards or something on those 3. If you don't think your running backs can run successfully, well, then run Josh Allen. You know what I mean? But you got to do something, because you can't just drop back to pass every snap. It's just getting played out,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what the numbers say, and I don't even know what these numbers are. Play action pass absolutely is affected by a running game that is willing to hand the ball off. When they know you're not really going to hand it off, play action doesn't work. I'd hate to break it to you, but yeah, I'm a little worried about Buffalo. Actually, I should say I'm a decent amount worried. I'm kind of, I would say, medium range concern level for them. I think ultimately they'll get it together and get in at least the wild card spot. But these 2 games against the Patriots are going to look an awful lot like this one if they don't become a more balanced offense. Plain and simple, because the defense is still very good. I mean, Taylor did his thing, but he is one of a kind right now as far as, guys that are available in the NFL. I think he's probably the best running back in football right now.
Without a doubt. Out of doubt.
Yeah, I'd still have Dalvin Cook in that conversation, Christian McCaffrey, all that. But right now, no one's playing better than Jonathan Taylor. So
Nope.
that's it is what it is. Let's talk about the Browns surviving against the Detroit Lions, man.
Yeah, that is the key word, and that is surviving.
Yeah, I mean,
and luckily they have a guy named Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
who
how can I forget him in that best running back conversation?
Yeah, he did what he needed to do to win this game. They escaped in a sloppy game. This was not a great outing for the Browns. But Nick Chubb, came through as always.
Yep. And I want to say one thing real quick in defense of for Browns fans here. Number one, you won the game, so that's fantastic. And number two, and this is more about a personal thing with Baker. I'm not sure. I heard Baker did some weird thing about messages on Instagram story or whatever. I don't know what he said, but here's the only thing I'll say in his defense. If you bring up, and I saw people doing it, and that's why I'm going to say this. If you bring up,
what are you talking about when they were booing him?
Yeah, but I'm going to get into something different now. If the people are going to bring up, Odell's not there. Is Odell still the problem? When Odell doesn't perform, I'm going to do the same thing back to you guys. I'm going to say, Matthew Stafford the problem now? Now Matthew Stafford's, so that's going to go both ways. It's not fair to me because especially when you have last year, I think it was like a 8 or 9 or 10 game sample size of Baker Mayfield putting up some of the best statistics in all of football at his position without Odell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like people are making that up, like that Baker's better without Odell. That's what the numbers say. It wasn't just complete media shenanigans. It wasn't just bullshit. It was actual, backed up by real, verifiable data. Baker had a bad game.
Yeah, he did.
That said, he had a very bad game. 15 of 29, 176 yards. 2 interceptions. He was sacked just once, and that was with a running game. Chubb 24 touches, 144 yards and a score. This game had 11 punts combined, 6 of them by the Lions.
Like I said, sloppy.
Yeah, very sloppy. Tim Boyle racked up a whole 77 passing yards. So before we disrespect Jared Goff too much, look what somebody else did with that role and what he's working with there in terms of guys to throw the football to. But DeAndre Swift did his thing, popped off a huge run.
57-yard touchdown run in the second half. That kept the Lions close.
Yeah, on that drive, he had 2 carries. One of them went for 19, the other one for 55 or 56 or whatever, 57.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think Dan Campbell should have been more aggressive. There was a situation late where they were down. What were they down? 13-7. It's 4th and 1 from the Cleveland 25, and he kicks a field goal, makes it 13-10. It's like, dude, do you really have confidence that I know you have confidence that your defense can force a punt. I get that part, and you did. But do you have confidence that your offense can then go drive the length of the field to win the game? And to win the game, you still need a touchdown, right? Because
with Tim Boyle?
Yeah, unless you were banking on going down all the way down the field to kick another field goal and then in overtime doing it again. You're at the 25-yard line. There's 1 yard separating you from a fresh set of downs. Go for it there, dude. You're 8-1. Like, you're coming off a hot game where you got a tie finally. You know what I mean?
Can't build off the momentum with the tie last week.
Yeah, and
come out and get a win. I mean, it's another tough loss for the Detroit Lions.
You have nothing to lose.
Nothing.
What is it? You going to lose? You lost anyways.
Yes.
Go for it, dude. That's exactly the situation Ron Rivera was in early in his career, and that's where he got the Rubber Boat Ron nickname, because he started saying he went for it on 4th and 1 one time, and we made it, and Panther fans were like, finally he went for it. And then it was like, he was just like, go for it. Every time it was a 4th and 1, we were going for it. Because we had Cam Newton too. That was a whole big part. And we have Cam Newton. But anyways, yes, it was an ugly game. Both running games were effective. DeAndre Swift was awesome again. And what I liked to see was that it was mostly DeAndre Swift as the primary ball carrier too. So that was encouraging as well, just like last week where he had 33 carries. I mean, they're giving him the football as they should. I hope Goff comes back next week, and I hope the Lions get a win, because I think they're I like what they're doing too much for them to not win a game. I want them to win a game. I don't care who it's against, just win a fucking game.
Lions coming up, they got Thanksgiving, they got the Bears. That's the king of the jungle versus the king of the forest. So the Lions can come in and have a Thanksgiving feast on the Bears, and maybe they get their first win.
They're going to get their first win, that one.
Yeah, I mean, there is a potential.
The only problem is it's Andy Dalton.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with Justin Fields out.
Yeah. Well, which I think that there's a chance Andy Dalton could be a little bit better right now than Fields.
Potentially.
But
for Matt Nagy's sake.
Yeah, I think Matt Nagy's low-key happy about this. I think he's kind of using this as a reason to be
he's not going to have a job after this season anyway, so.
Well, that's why he thinks Dalton's better right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to win games now because he knows that if they keep losing games, he's out, and he knows that. So that's kind of the big, that's where his whole mindset is at, right or wrong. But yeah, man, tough loss for the for the Lions. A big win for the Browns. Look, you're 6-5. You are alive.
They got a tough test coming up this week on Sunday night versus Baltimore, and then they play them twice in 3 weeks. So,
oh man, that's
first
huge.
one's on the road. So, good luck to the Browns.
You're gonna need it. I mean, damn, because Baltimore just showed you what strong, cultured, good teams do, and they went in there without their quarterback, and they beat a decent team in the Bears. And the way they did it was dramatic and all that stuff, and I mean, Baltimore at one point after 6 weeks, Baltimore looked like the best team in football. They were best record in the NFL, in the AFC. They were actually the 1 seed in the AFC at that point. Then they had a little bit of a dip after that Cincinnati beatdown, and then they lost against the Dolphins in that a couple of weeks ago, or what will be a couple weeks ago by the time they play next week. So,
well, let's go into that game right now. Ravens Bears. I mean,
yeah, let's do it. So,
without my guy, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it was an ugly game. It was not a. It was my kind of game. I'm totally fine with that kind of game. Like, just it was defense. It was ugly. It was fighting for every
yard.
Yeah, it was that. And I'm pretty impressed with the way they came out and did it, because it looked towards the end of the game there. It looked like it was over. I was like, oh, Chicago's got – after Andy Dalton made that one I think he threw a long touchdown pass, if I remember correctly. Anyways, after that, after the Bears kind of went ahead, it felt like it was too much. It felt like the Ravens were not going to be able to go score, especially a touchdown, and they did. And they did it in the clutch situation, and the backup quarterback, Huntley, went out there, made a play, Sammy Watkins deep down the field, and that led to that touchdown for Devontae Freeman. It was an impressive, just gutsy performance, especially when it was like out of nowhere. I think even to the players, when Lamar Jackson's just like, I can't play, I'm too sick, And Huntley said he sent him a text. Lamar was like, hey, bro, go do your thing. It's you. So, like, Lamar let him know that he was going to play. And, I thought that was pretty cool. So that must have meant a whole lot to the kid, just being like, Lamar Jackson, and that's his teammate. I know he's not starstruck by him, but he's still sitting there like, Lamar just texted me and said, go get him. That's pretty damn cool.
I mean, he's got him, on his side.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's obviously a straight-up class act dude, so.
Yeah, I love Lamar. But yeah, man, the Ravens defense kept them in it and just consistently kept them in this game.
Justin Tucker pretty much won them this game.
I mean, he
kicked 3 field goals.
That dude is constantly he's constantly giving them if it's a close game, Tucker will be there for you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
the best kicker to ever grace the planet.
Yeah.
At this point.
By the way, Justin Fields, before the injury, was 4 out of 11,
yeah,
79 yards.
Not good.
So he wasn't necessarily having the greatest game of his career.
Yeah, Mooney had a good one in this one. So did Marquise Goodwin. They both had over 100 yards. Both had a touchdown apiece. But on the other side of the ball, at the tight end position, Mark Andrews is an animal.
Yeah, he is.
This guy can eat.
He's
8 for 73 scoreless yards, but man, he was making some catches in this one.
Yeah, and back to Huntley for just a second. I think that when you look at where else would he be a backup? I'm not sure anywhere.
Yeah,
but he's the perfect backup for Baltimore
for sure.
Because
he fits well into the
they
system.
they like running the quarterback. Obviously, they got Lamar Jackson. He ran the ball 7 times for 40 yards in Huntley, and just what he can do in terms of just his skill set, they can utilize within that offense, right? They can just go back to like rookie year Lamar and kind of just, simplify things a little bit more. And so
I mean, he
it
had the
worked
longest.
out nicely.
Yeah, he had the longest rush out of all their backs. So
Nice. How long was it?
19-yarder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, man. Andrews was good. Devontae Freeman caught 6 passes. Duvernay had 4. Sammy Watkins had that long one. Bateman didn't have a crazy statistical game, but definitely left. You could feel his presence out there
For sure.
a couple of times where it was just like, oh, okay. Like you see the flashes and why they drafted him in the first round and why that was a good decision, by the way. On the Bears side of it, I don't know why they didn't run the ball more.
Yeah.
They
only ran it 20 times.
It's a close game, and you got Dalton threw it 23 times and Fields threw it 11. That's 34 pass attempts. David Montgomery ran 14 times. If you take away Fields' 4 runs, they ran 16 times.
They need to be giving Montgomery 30 carries a game.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a really good player.
Yes, he is.
I don't understand that
I mean, he had 58 yards and 14 carries. Imagine what that could be with 30 carries.
For sure. But yeah, big win for the Ravens. Can't wait to see what happens against the Browns
without
next
Lamar and Hollywood Brown. They gutted it out. So kudos to them. They're now 7-3.
Yep. And so where are we at now? We got the
Niners, Jaguars.
Do we? Oh, we went. Oh, okay. I got it. Gotcha. Yes, Niners, Jaguars. Niners dominated, man. I was telling you maybe we should trade. Maybe we should sell high on Debo. But then we were like, nah, he's the guy there. He only had 1 catch. So if I told you, hey, Debo had just 1 catch for, 6 yards or something like that? I can't see it on my list here. But I know he had just 1 catch.
16 or 15 yards.
Okay, so 1 for 15, but he carried the ball 8 times for 79 yards and a touchdown. Debo Samuel will not be denied. And his skill set and with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays and with Kyle Shanahan willing to utilize him in any way possible, make him just so fantasy matchup proof, and matchup proof to the point where he's going to, one way or another, he'll get you, and if you're not going to let him, if you're going to double team him or whatever as a receiver, fine, I'm just going to hand it off and let him do his thing that way. And if you notice, Jeff Wilson and Trey Sermon were they carry the ball 29 times. So that's back to my point of you don't have to be all that effective. You just have to do it, right? 29 carries for 82 yards, those two. That's like 2 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
But they showed it constantly. And Debo himself, 8 carries for 79 yards. So he averages 10 yards a carry. And it was as a true running back on most of those attempts. So Brandon Ayuk is back, and absolutely at this point, I think that maybe he apologized to Shanahan for whatever he did to piss him off or whatever. I don't know, but 7 for 85 and a touchdown, and that combined with what he did, I think it was the previous week, right? That to me, that says
pretty sure on that touchdown grab, Garoppolo threw it in between 3 guys back of the end zone. He played a hell of a game in this one. 16 for 22. He only had 176 yards, but another 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I guarantee you that was well over 8 or 9, 10 yards per attempt.
Just 8, on the dot.
Okay, so that's high level stuff right there. If that's the way your quarterback's playing, right? And again, why was it that easy for them? Because they were willing to run. They were committed to the run. They ran 42 times as a team for 171 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so
on the other side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, it's getting rough out there for Trevor Lawrence.
It is what it is.
His development is just not where it needs to be at this point in the season, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, like you say, he's supposed to be the greatest prospect since Peyton Manning or even John Elway. But
yeah, pick your poison. I mean, 16 of 25, 158 yards. Didn't throw any interceptions, so that part is good. Let me ask you a question that I posed. I think it was on Instagram yesterday and Twitter. If Taylor Heinicke was the Jaguars quarterback this year, would he be better or worse?
He'd be better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't see how you could think otherwise.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, the way Taylor Heinicke's, played and showed, poise, I think for sure if he's on the Jags, they have more than 2 wins.
Yeah, I agree. Because the defense is actually kind of good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the defense isn't bad at all.
They got walloped in this one, but
yeah, but
on the ground.
when you can't get anything going offensively and it's just constantly punt back to the other team, you're gonna get points scored on you. It's just that simple. The Niners had a 19-play drive, or what was it, 20-play drive in the first quarter, the opening drive, and they held them to a field goal, and Shanahan respected them enough to not go for it on 4th and goal from like the 1 or 2 yard line. So their defense fought their asses off and played well. And again, with Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, and James Robinson, a pretty decent offensive line, I'm not going to sit here and act like Trevor Lawrence is in a position that Josh Allen was in as a rookie, or that even Josh Rosen was in as a rookie, or Sam Darnold was in as a rookie, where he had nothing to work with. Like, that's not the case, guys. Like, find something else. You know, the coaching staff is so bad. Well, you didn't think the coaching staff was bad before the season. Now, all of a sudden, they're the worst coaching staff ever, right? Everybody was fired up for Urban Meyer. I wasn't really all that fired up.
I wasn't.
The point is,
I think he's better off in the college ranks, to be honest.
I agree. But the point is, like, you see all these excuses come pouring out now. It's just like with Tua, you know, when you guys have these unrealistic expectations and then reality strikes and it's like, oh, maybe we were all a little bit too high on this guy, and now it's every excuse in the world for them to try and, you know, go back to your preconceived notion.
I think they should do the RPO more.
Oh, I definitely think Trevor should run it. I think he ran like 3 times in this one for 20
If they can emulate things that Trevor did in college, I mean, it's definitely going to help his development because that's what he's good at. That's what he showed at Clemson. I mean, he was dominant. Yeah,
he was really good with his legs. And in big games, he ran more. You know, this is like every game is a big game because the playing field is level now.
Yeah, he
doesn't have some gigantic talent discrepancy.
Yeah, I think they need to add more RPO plays into the playbook for
design runs flat out and RPOs. Yeah, but like I want to see really like don't even just quarterback. I don't care quarterback power, quarterback runs, whatever. Just let Trevor run. You know, I think that's very, very much an important piece of what they should be doing. And ultimately, I think they will do it. They started to do it for a minute there. It was against, I think in that game against the Bengals, I believe it was, where he started to run. And then it doesn't have to be 15 carries in a game, Jalen Hurts style, although it could be. But what it has to be is run with him enough to build up some confidence. Right now, the kid has no confidence because everything he does is wrong. Like nothing's working, you know. And this is a kid that I don't know if he ever lost a game. Maybe lose 1 or 2 games his entire college career.
Yeah,
and probably not much of his high school career.
All new for him.
Yeah, so he's just getting his ass beat every week, and you know you guys aren't doing anything to help him out. So,
I mean, you out there, if you watch him, I mean, he's not out there complaining and whatnot. He's trying to get better, and you know you got to give it up to him. But like I said, his development is just
that's what he should be doing. I'm not.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence. This guy was supposed to be. Yeah, they're supposed to be undefeated at this point.
Yeah, right. He was supposed to be. I mean, they said he was the greatest quarterback prospect since whoever. Insert name here. The point is, he wasn't, and and not just me, but like anybody having someone ranked over him was not nearly as outlandish as a lot of people took it to be.
Yeah,
you know. So that's all I'm saying. But I hope he has a great career. I really do. I don't hate him at all. I actually really, really, really like him as a young man. But they got their ass swept by these Niners. These Niners are for real, man. They're 5-5 now. They are, to me, a dangerous team because why? They're balanced. They can do it in any way you need, right? Like if Garoppolo has to throw it 40 times in a game and bring them back, he's capable of that, right? Mm-hmm. Their defense is built to rush the passer, and back end can do enough in terms of coverage. And you know, they're pretty good against the run. Like they're pretty good everywhere, and they're balanced. And I think that's a very, very important piece of this game, especially when you're at the halfway point in the season and you've put everything out on tape now, so teams really know what you like to do. That's when you have to be able to run the football, because when all else fails, running the ball is just like we're tougher than you are, and you know, and we're going to come at you. And that's what they did. Look, they didn't have a ton of success. Again, Sermon and Wilson, 29 carries, 82 yards. That's literally like 2 yards per attempt. But they stuck with it, and it made Jimmy's life a whole lot easier, and they got another big-time win to crack the 500 scales now. Yep. So, with that, let's move on.
Texans Titans. What a freaking mystery game this was.
Yeah, just like we all,
Like all
expected,
season.
right?
Like
Yeah.
all season. There's just been the most crazy, outlandish upsets, and this tops them all.
I don't know if this tops the Jags Bills.
Right.
That one felt so bonkers.
It seems like it tops it all because I think
They dominated
Texans,
them
yeah, the
from start
Texans
to
were on
finish.
a 8-game losing streak. The Titans were on a 6-game winning streak. And
Was it only 6?
yeah.
Okay, I thought it was 7.
No,
Anyways,
it was only 6, but ridiculous.
yeah. So
Now the Titans look exposed.
well, and the truth of the matter is, without Derrick Henry,
Yes.
in a game where they were forced to throw, because it wasn't like they were getting nothing on the ground, but the game became to a point where, especially in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
Tannehill, 3 of his 4 interceptions came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and he threw it
threw
52 times.
Yeah, he threw 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter alone.
That's incredible.
Pretty insane. And that was again in large part because the defense was giving them the ball back, but the defense wasn't making any big game-changing play. Like in the fourth quarter, they'd force a punt, get the Titans the ball back. All right, go down there and do it. No. Like it wasn't happening. Interception. So it was rough, a rough day. Tannehill, 323 yards. I don't think you should get all excited about that, but 1 touchdown to 4 picks. Houston didn't make mistakes. Tennessee did, and again, as you mentioned, we finally saw what the exposure of what can happen when you don't have your elite running back and Derrick Henry on the field. Because with Henry, in a game where he only lost by 9, and I think they kicked a field goal late to make it a 9-point game, so you would have been able to run Derrick Henry down the field if you were down by 6, which is what they were at times in that fourth quarter. You would have been able to just say, hey, Derrick, just plow these guys over a few times here. We'll get in the end zone and we'll get a stop and then go get it again. But they couldn't do that.
No.
And I think that next week against the Patriots, it'll be more of the same. I do.
I mean, look, Tennessee outgained Houston 420 to 190 in this one.
Wow.
And they made too many mistakes. I mean, 4 picks will do it.
How'd they have 4? Are you sure they had 420 yards?
Mm-hmm.
How? They only had 83 rushing yards. And Tyrod had like 100 passing yards. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Like they ran the ball 38 times, which is a ton of runs, but they only mustered 83 yards with those. And I think it's the other way around, bro. I think the Titans outgained them. But again, it came down to mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the Texans outgained.
No, Tennessee outgained.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I said Texans, I meant Tennessee. So
Maybe my head was working the other way. But yeah, so you're right. Like the yards didn't mean shit though ultimately because they only got 13 points and that's just not enough to even beat a Texans team that at times can't score 20. But when you take the ball away that many times, you're gonna get some points. And also, I think the commentator said, or at least the Red Zone guy said, that the Texans hadn't scored a road touchdown since week 2 against Cleveland before this game, and they finally broke that streak and got in the end zone there in Tennessee. It was in Tennessee, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. Oh yeah.
It was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's crazy. So yeah, the hottest team in football goes down to the coldest team in football. But hey, they got Tyrod back. This is the game that kind of I was expecting from the Texans last week or the week before when they were playing the Dolphins. I felt like, hey, this might be the game. Tyrod comes back, yada, yada. No, didn't happen. This time it happens, of course, when literally no one expected it. So shout out to Texans fans because, hey, I said it this morning on the podcast and I'll say it again. They're not I'm not going to say they're a better coaching staff than what they got in Tennessee because I think Vrabel's great, but they outcoached them. They out-game planned them and out-coached them in this particular game, and their team made plays. The Tennessee team did not.
Yep.
So, all right, Vikings-Packers, yeah?
Man, what a barn burner this one was.
This one was crazy. So the Vikings actually had a 23-10 lead in this game. It felt like, maybe they're pulling away. Ever since then, the Packers had 3 more possessions in the game. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown in all 3 possessions. So, and I mean, it was maybe I might be missing a possession there, but the point is, oh no, I'm not. Yeah, it was 23-10, 3 straight touchdowns from Green Bay every time they had the ball, and the Vikings ultimately had to go down and win the game late, and they did that. Dalvin Cook wisely, for fantasy owners, they're like, no, go, go, go. He wisely gets down. They kick the field goal. They win the game. Look, Aaron Rodgers, banged up Aaron Rodgers with a bad, very painful, apparently, toe injury, comes out, goes 23 of 33, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Basically did whatever the hell he damn well pleased. And guess who matched him? Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he did.
Justin
Jefferson went nuts in this one.
Yeah, he went completely out of his mind.
Absolutely bonkers. 8 for 169, 2 touchdowns on 10 targets. Woo.
Yeah. But look, Kirk had 341 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. So he had 44 fewer pass yards. But they also had a running game, and the Packers in this one really didn't. I mean, A.J. Dillon didn't get a ton of work. He was effective, but he wasn't,
I felt like they should have given him more carries.
Maybe I think so too, but Rodgers was on fire doing whatever he wanted.
Was.
So, I mean, they scored touchdowns on each of their last 3 possessions, like I mentioned. So it
wasn't. Yeah, they scored.
It was the defense finally couldn't stop these guys.
Yeah. MVS had that 75-yard touchdown, and it was like 7 seconds.
Yeah, that was kind of like, that was the kind of day that it was. And, to me, I said before this game when we were making our predictions, I said Dalvin Cook was a key, right?
Yeah,
and Dalvin was good. He wasn't
22 for 86 and a touchdown.
Yeah, it wasn't his most, flashy game, but he was consistently moving the ball. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson each had 8 receptions. Jefferson had for 169, Thielen just 82, and they had all 3 of the Cousins touchdown passes. So, at the end of the day, man, Minnesota is beginning to figure out how to finish games, and that definitely matters, right? Like if you remember, the game against the Cardinals the Bengals in week 1, they were right there, coulda, shoulda, woulda. In week 1, they lose. Then at Arizona, who we now know is the number 1 seed in the NFC, by the way, because of this Packers loss, and they won in Seattle. Arizona, they coulda, shoulda, woulda beat Arizona in week 2. They lose, right? Then they beat Seattle week 3, almost beat the Browns in week 4, and ever since then, then they won 2 straight. Then, after their bye week, they lose to Dallas, which is devastating even without Dak Prescott. And then they barely lose to the Baltimore Ravens. Coulda, shoulda, woulda won that one. And then it was like, all right, enough's enough. We beat the Chargers they beat the Chargers and Packers in back-to-back weeks. And this is a gigantic game they have coming up next because it's against the San Francisco 49ers, who are right there in the thick of it in the playoff hunt. And I believe Minnesota is also 5-5. So that will be a very important game, and one that I think I might be almost most excited for that game than all the games next week, because again, the implications in that one are very strong. Because if the Vikings, imagine this, if the Vikings win that game, that means Minnesota has tiebreakers over Carolina and San Francisco. And it would give them a game lead on San Francisco as well. And if the Panthers lose, they get a game lead on them. So it'd be huge for the Vikings to go ahead and get that one. And I said I felt like the Minnesota Vikings could have beat the Packers. I don't think I picked them, but I wanted to pick them. I just felt like Green Bay was playing for too much and Green Bay was playing too well. But the Vikings now 5-5. They're 3 games or 2.5 games behind Green Bay in the division, so I don't think that's a possibility per se, unless the Packers start dropping some games here. But we'll see. Rodgers is banged up. If he has to sit out a couple, then anything's possible, So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, huge win for the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing complementary football. They're figuring out how to close games this season, and that's gigantic. And doing their thing.
Yep.
Bengals Raiders, right?
Yep.
Cincinnati's got a new way of winning, and it's not with Joe Burrow throwing 400 yards on it. It's defense and run game.
Yeah, Joe Mixon had a big game in this one.
Mm-hmm. Which we called that. We said this would be more of a Mixon game than a Burrow game.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's 30 carries for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I love seeing him carry the ball 30 times, man. That shit, it's just huge because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, he really is. He didn't have one catch, just straight groundwork.
Yeah, I don't give a damn. Just as long as you're giving him the ball like that.
Averaging 4.1 yards a carry, Yeah.
But the important thing is this. Look, his numbers would have looked a whole lot worse. What was his long? Do you have it on there?
20.
Yeah, that was his last carry where he went 20 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right. So without that 20-yarder, he was averaging 3 yards a carry. See, the Bills will tell you, well, we're not running it effectively, so we can't keep running the ball. Bullshit. Keep running the ball because it puts you in positions where if you throw, so let's first down. If you throw 2 incomplete passes, it's 3rd and 10. If you run the ball, if you're averaging 3 yards a carry and you run it for 3 yards on each of 1st and 2nd down, well, now you're sitting there at 3rd and 4. That's a gigantic difference. Coaches will literally call a draw play or a screen and basically just give up on 3rd and 10, and at times, right? And so not all the time, but the point is 3rd and 10 is a whole lot more difficult than 3rd and 4. 3rd and 4, you have the whole playbook open. And, you might even be able to run the ball again, like on a little draw play or whatever, and get the first down. So, to me, that's the whole point. Like, if you're averaging 3 yards a carry, that's okay because now you have your one-on-ones. Why did Jamar Chase catch another touchdown pass? Why was he one-on-one covered? Because you have to account for the run game. So, like, that to me is a very important piece of it. Cincinnati is a mature team. This was one that they had to have. It was close for a little while, and they ultimately pulled away and got the win.
Yeah, the Raiders are reeling right now.
Yeah, they're reeling badly, man.
They've been outscored 96-43 since their bye week. So they're just being absolutely demolished.
Yeah, that's tough, right? Because the defense, look, Burrow only had 148 yards passing, but he didn't turn the ball over.
Nope.
And the thing about it is, with the Raiders, where's he at? Carr. I see people right now in Raider Nation on social media that I respect and follow, and they're asking, is it Marcus Mariota time? Remember a few weeks ago when Derek Carr was a top 10 quarterback?
Right, but it's never Marcus Mariota time. I think we kind of know who that guy is.
I think they're just desperate, and they're saying, hey, well, we thought we knew who Tannehill was, too, to be fair. We thought Sam Darnold was going to have a breakout year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel you. I'm just saying, like, someone that I follow and respect in Raiders community is genuinely asking that question right now, and I think that just goes to show you how fucked up things are there.
Yeah, they started 3-0, have lost 5 of their last 7, so
and 3 straight after their bye week.
Yeah, tough sledding for the Raiders.
In the last 2, they've been outscored 73-27.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Whatsoever.
That's getting your... they were beat 41-14 by Kansas City, and if they won that game, they'd be first place in the AFC West, and then they came back and lost a devastating game with very heavy wild card implications to the Bengals, 32-13, got their asses whooped, so...
Yeah. With the Raiders' ineffectiveness on 3rd down, Cincy's defense played well in this one. Like you said, they didn't have to throw the ball. Their defense did what they needed to do, and Joe Mixon did what he needed to do on the ground, and they beat the brakes off the Raiders.
Yep, beat the brakes off of them. Cincy, huge win for them. I think they're 6-5 now. That's obviously very important for them to keep pace in that wild card picture there in the AFC. Let me verify that. Are they 6-5? I think they are.
Who? The Bengals are 6-4.
6-4. Wow, that's even bigger because they beat the Ravens once. If they can just stay right here until they play the Ravens again and beat them again, if they can, then everybody in the AFC North has a winning record.
They got Steelers coming up this week, and then the Raiders got my boys on Thanksgiving.
Bro, every team in the AFC North has a winning record.
It's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Looking at it,
it's a tough division.
That's very tough. The AFC West, there's every team's at least 500 or better, and then in the NFC, no one has it like that. No division is 500 or better all the way around. So the AFC has 2 of those in there, and right now the Chargers, that was a gigantic win. What huge playoff implications that was against the Steelers. We'll get to that here shortly, but damn. the AFC, the wild card. That's why I did an episode on the wild cards last week, just talking about all these wild card teams, because it really is super interesting because they're all playing each other, and they're either playing each other this week, or they've played each other, or they're gonna play each other. Wild stuff, wild cards.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Cardinals, Seattle. I had the Seahawks as my lock of the week, which is why you guys should have instantly bet on Arizona, because my locks have been off. Let's be honest. My upsets are on. My upsets are pretty solid. But my locks, look, I was going to choose the Chiefs over the Cowboys as my third lock instead of the Seahawks. But I was like, I was a little bit nervous that Dak was going to go out there and light it up. I'm like, whatever. Russell Wilson's not going to lose to Colt McCoy in an absolute must-win game in Seattle.
Yeah, Colt McCoy went out there and put in work. 35 for 44 for 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, James Conner on the ground had 21 for 62 and a touchdown. My boy Zach Ertz caught 2 touchdowns.
2 more, yeah. What the hell, dude?
One from 1 yard out, the second one from 2 yards out. So I think one of them was a shovel pass. But he showed up for me in fantasy, thank God. I needed that.
Hey, bro.
Just unexpected, which is always nice, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The unexpected 28 points.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. At least you didn't bench him.
Yeah, well, that's all I have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on bye this week, so I need to find somebody. But yeah, I mean, the Cardinals played exceptionally well with Colt McCoy.
Dominated them.
Yeah.
They dominated this game from start to finish.
Seattle looks nothing like they have in years past. Russell was only 14 for 26 for 207 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Bro, Russell Wilson in the 2 games back is completing 51.5% of his passes.
Not good. I think his finger is literally just even on his hand.
0 touchdown passes in 2 games.
That's
0
awful.
touchdowns on 66 pass attempts.
And they ran the
7
ball
7 sacks.
17 times in this one, excluding Russell Wilson for 86 yards, for 84 yards.
I mean, that's good, but they were in a position where Arizona was willing to let them do it to an extent because they got off to such a hot start.
Yeah.
It was and all that happened, right? And then it was still only a 7-point game at the half because the Cardinals missed that field goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, Russ, this is where, historically speaking, this is where you say, oh, you guys kept me alive, you're screwed. I felt like it was going to be a lot like the Week 2 49er game. I think it was Week 2 or 3, where they came back and won that game in the second half because it was a similar story in that one about the Niners letting them hang around. Well, Arizona came out and was the more hungry team in the second half.
Yeah, they dominated on everything, essentially. They had 413 yards to Seattle's 266. They had the ball for 40 minutes versus 19 for the Seahawks, and then 29 first downs to Seattle's 16. So they pretty much dominated on offense. Russell Wilson, like you said, looked bad. Alex Collins, 10 for 36, not good. Lockett had a decent game on paper, but tough loss for the Seahawks. I don't know what it is in Seattle.
They're done now.
Yeah, they are.
As for the playoffs.
And I was saying this a couple weeks ago. I think there needs to be a shift in either head coach or Russell Wilson needs to just, get out of Seattle. I don't know what it is.
He's healthy. I just don't think he's healthy. It's not
okay. Not that he's not healthy. It's just like when teams get to the end of their run,
they're not the end of their run. I just think that he's not healthy, and if he's not healthy, like Russell Wilson's completing 51% of his passes.
He's unlimited.
Did you know his middle name was Carrington? I just saw that.
No, I
Did
didn't.
not know that.
But
Russell Carrington Wilson.
RCW, baby.
Anyways, yeah, man. So even if you go back in his last 3 games, the one that he was healthy and he played most of that game against the Rams, he has 1 touchdown pass over his last 82 attempts, and
yeah, not good.
It's not
good whatsoever.
And this was after he got off to that blazing hot start for the first 2 or 3 games, and then it was just all downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. And Seattle's defense, in my opinion, really kept them in it. They did a good job, I think, for the most part, in terms of again, when your offense just continuously puts you right back on the field, well, what do you expect's going to happen? You're not going to be able to stop them every time. You're going to get tired.
Yeah.
You know, at the time of possession in this game was probably very lopsided. In
40-19.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, in Colt McCoy, you can say, oh, he was dinking and dunking. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, he really was.
Rondale Moore. That was effective.
Rondale Moore had 11 receptions for 51 yards.
Oh, my God. It was like handoffs.
Yeah.
But it worked, man. He had over 300 pass yards, didn't throw an interception, you know.
I mean, he's a seasoned vet at this point.
And here's the thing, bad news for Cardinal fans. Even though you got the 1 seed back, you guys signed Trace McSorley to your active roster. And I think you're going into a bye week this week. You are.
They are.
But the problem with that is, if you're going into a bye, why are you signing McSorley to your active roster now? I think, as Mike Tannenbaum said on Twitter, this might indicate Kyler is not going to be back even after the bye. You know, like what they signed another quarterback to their active roster. What does that mean? Like,
I don't know.
You're not doing in the bye week where you're going to have a week off. I don't know. That's weird.
We're hoping he's back. At least I am.
Well, of course,
for fantasy purposes.
But I'm just saying, guess what? After the bye week, you play at Chicago. Call me crazy, but I think Colt McCoy can go in there and beat them if he has to, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So
if he can go on the road in Seattle and beat them, I mean, he's definitely got a chance to.
Yeah, and then after that, you got the Rams and then the Lions. So Colt McCoy, in my opinion, could win 2 out of the next 3 for him. I think
he's
so.
A stud.
Even then,
he's an absolute college football GOAT.
Yeah, I mean he's an effective quarterback, and this is after the week after the Carolina Panthers just beat the brakes off the Cardinals, which is why I felt like, okay, the Cardinals are going to get their asses whooped in Seattle because Russell Wilson should be healthier now. It's in Seattle. It's a must-win game. The Panthers just beat the hell out of them. Nope, they showed resiliency. And you know, if I had to pick 2 coaches off the top of my head for Coach of the Year, one of them would be Bill Belichick because they went from 1-4 to 6-4 or 7-4, division leader, all that stuff, wild. And Cliff Kingsbury is a pretty damn good choice. I mean, he's played 3 games now with Colt McCoy, and he's getting a whole lot of efficiency out of Colt McCoy. Like if Kyler Murray, if you just said Kyler played the last 3 games, and you told me that he was completing, wait for it, 75.5% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7.6 yards an attempt, I would be like, oh yeah, he's playing solid. And that's by the standard that's Kyler Murray, you know, and that's also with the bad game against Carolina. If you take that out, he's completing over 80% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, you know, averaging well over 8 yards per pass attempt. I mean, he's played 2 really good games, and I'm just going to chalk that up to 2 things. Number 1 is coaching. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Kingsbury fan, but I got to give him credit. He deserves credit. So I will give it to him. And then also it's the fact that they do have depth there. Rondale Moore, 11 catches for 50 yards is weird, but whatever. It was somebody for Colt to move the ball forward with. It's like a run game, right? You get 3 or 4, 5 or 6 yards every single play. That's tough to deal with. It's tough to stop.
29 first downs in this one.
Yeah, so they were just constantly moving the chains.
Yep.
You know, and so, yeah, man, the Arizona Cardinals, rightly so, have reclaimed first place in the NFC West, and I'm not so sure that they'll lose it. You know, if I had to bet on who wins that division, I'd still take the Rams. But that's just me. Yep. But Arizona is very much legitimate. I mean, if Russell Wilson goes out next week and has 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'll look at this Cardinals defense a whole lot differently than what I currently am. But I'm just not sure Russell's healthy. And so I guess we'll see moving forward. But huge win. And again, they are the number 1 seed. And to me, that means a whole hell of a lot because Arizona going to somewhere like Green Bay in the NFC Championship game potentially, that would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Right? I want Green Bay coming to my dome, my comfy, cozy confines of my home if I'm a Cardinals fan. So Seattle, respectively, you're done for the playoffs this year. Still finish strong. I think they will. They got a lot of competitors there. But playoff-wise, you're done.
Cowboys, Chiefs.
Yep, Cowboys-Chiefs. That was a fun one.
Yeah, was it?
I mean, hell.
It wasn't fun for Cowboy fans, but...
Dude, the Chiefs' defense...
Cowboys are just
dominant.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are not healthy right now whatsoever.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Yes, it would have. I mean, Mark Cooper out in this one. CeeDee Lamb went out in this. Our leading receiver was Dalton Schultz.
How many points did you guys have at the half? I think you had 3.
Yeah, we did.
And that was with CeeDee Lamb. So the only guy you were out was Amari Cooper at that point.
Right. Well, the Chiefs dominated defense.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
So it was also aided by the fact that, yes, you had some banged up receivers for sure. You lost two of your best guys.
We were out. Our left tackle was out.
But this is not – look, man, the Chiefs have been doing this for the last 6 games.
Yes, their defense, I mean, has rightfully so earned the respect that they now have.
Yeah, over their last 6 games, they've only allowed more than 17 points once.
Yeah, Chris Jones had 3.5 sacks in this one.
He was unblockable.
Forcing a fumble. Forcing it and recovering a fumble in this one. I mean, Snead played well out on the outside. I mean, he looks like a really good cornerback.
Oh, he's one of the better cornerbacks in football, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's really good. Like, I posted this thing that I can't remember the guy on social media. He's a guy that works with a lot of these young corners, that he posted a play with Snead, where Snead is in zone, and it was just showed his instincts, football intelligence. This kid, his second year, is looking like a legit professional, like a real pro. And, man, I said it during the game, soon you guys will find out how good this Kansas City Chiefs secondary is, and it has a whole lot to do with Snead. Charvarius Ward's a very good player. Of course, Tyrann Mathieu good. They've got a lot of guys there in that secondary that are pretty good, and Daniel Sorensen not being one of them. But anyways, like I said, man, I don't think you. I will challenge you guys. Look up any defense that you think is great, right? And tell me over the last 6 games if they've held opponents to 17 or fewer points in 5 of 6. You're not going to find that. I really don't think you'll find that, anywhere.
Yeah.
5 of 6 games, 17 or fewer points.
Yeah, the much improved defense.
They're averaging 14.5. I think it's 14.5 points per game against them over those 6 games. So I was talking about that narrative before this game, but then I did not expect them to do this to Dallas. And I even said, actually, in our preview podcast, I said there's no way in hell Dak Prescott has a bad game. Well, he had a bad game, and it was...
Yeah, he did. 28 for 43, 216 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah. I love the way Steve Spagnuolo just knows what he has in that secondary, and he has the fucking balls to just say, we're coming, we're playing press man. We're going to challenge these receivers, whoever. And that was when they had CeeDee Lamb in the game. They left him in some favorable situations in terms of one-on-one coverage with no safety help over the top and stuff, and it just didn't matter. They just didn't give a damn. And for the most part, they didn't really pay any severe consequences for it. These guys are making plays on the ball. These are corners that are like 6'1".
I mean, their defense,
200-plus pounds.
Their defense bailed them out in this game because Mahomes
couldn't do shit.
Yeah, he couldn't at all. I mean, he had a pick, and then he had a fumble, right?
Yes, he did.
A fumble lost. So,
he did.
Like you said, their defense is playing outstanding right now, and it showed against the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're firmly in first place now of their division.
Yeah, 3-4. Now they've won 4 straight, 7-4.
Yep.
This is the same Chiefs team as we know them. I mean, obviously we weren't counting them out when they were 3-4.
I definitely wasn't.
Still thought they were a playoff team.
Look here,
and
bro.
Now they're fucking booming.
They have a legitimate chance, and I know this is going to be tough because the Titans and the Ravens own the tiebreaker over them. But if you lose a game, it might. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to lose again. They might not lose again the entire season. But they're 7-4 right now. That means they're a game behind the Titans. They're a half a game behind the Ravens, who are just 7-3. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to still be the 1 seed in the AFC. They're going to have to finish a game better than Tennessee and Baltimore. But like we said, Tennessee's going to New England, I believe it is this week. And I think that game is in New England. And let's see. Oh, yeah, it's Monday night, I think. So anyways, Tennessee's going to New England on Monday night. This week, the Browns and Ravens play. It's not inconceivable to say the Ravens lose to the Browns and the Titans lose to the Patriots, and then whoever the Chiefs play, they win. They're now tied with those teams, or at least tied with Tennessee for first place. they could easily be the 1 seed. You know who else could be the 1 seed? The New England Patriots could be the 1 seed in the AFC when it's all said and done. So how crazy would that be after a 1-4 start? Their home record this year, New England, is 2-4. They don't give a damn. They've won 5 straight, longest current win streak in the NFL now that Tennessee has busted theirs. And, yeah, man, we're in the mix here. So big win for the Chiefs. I think Dallas will be okay. But I wouldn't want to stumble too many more times if you're Dallas because – The Eagles are only 2.5 games behind you right now, and so that doesn't sound.
Well, I mean, they've got a easier matchup on Thanksgiving against the Raiders, so hopefully we can gut out a win on that one.
Yeah, the Raiders are really reeling, and that's who you play. Yeah, I would bet your life savings on Dallas. I think they're gonna
get right game.
Yeah, it's absolutely a get right game. They're gonna get right from it, and so that should be okay for Dallas. I just think that like the disappointing part, if you're a Cowboys fan, is the fact that the Packers lost, right? And so with a win there, you would have been sitting at 8-2, and you would have been just a half a game behind the Cardinals for the 1 seed. So that was huge. Now you're a game and a half behind the Cardinals for that 1 seed. You're a half a game behind the Packers, and so it's and I think you're even where are the Rams at 7-3. Yeah, so now you have the same record as the Rams. So you had a chance to kind of jockey for a position there in terms of getting that 1 seed or 2 seed or whatever. Now you're in a position where you might be the 4 seed. Who knows? Yeah, I mean that because the Bucks just won as well, dominated the Giants, so yeah. But yeah, huge win for Kansas City.
Tough loss for Cowboys.
For sure, tough loss for Dallas. So where are we at now?
We're at Sunday night.
Sunday night. Who?
Chargers, Steelers.
Oh, how can I forget?
Yes.
Yeah. The Chargers. My guy Justin Herbert did whatever he wanted first and foremost.
Yeah, 30 for 41, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick.
The Justin Herbert to Austin Eckler stack I have in a league definitely did what I had hoped.
Austin Eckler carried my team to victory this week in a much-needed win in fantasy. I mean, he was unstoppable in this one.
Justin Herbert has second highest yards per pass attempt in any game this season in this one, and his only higher one being against the Eagles a couple weeks ago. But the thing about it is, man, Justin Herbert, to me, this was his best game of the year. He also had 90 yards rushing, by the way, which I think that is always something I think he can do more of.
Yeah.
I say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence, but I really would like Herbert to do the same. And not for the same reasons, but just because he can. And this, to me, was the best game he's ever played because it was a big game, pressure game, very much playoff implications on the line here against Pittsburgh, against the real team in Pittsburgh who has been in these games many times. It was Sunday night. And Herbert, from the opening snap to the closing snap, was phenomenal. It was not too big for him. He created things.
He went nuts. I mean, they had 533 yards on offense.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Against Pittsburgh. And I know that was without Watt, without Minka. I get all that. But still, they're the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're still a very well-coached team with a strong culture. And there was adversity, right? And he immediately responded.
They almost came back and won this game.
Yeah, I mean I think they took the lead even late.
Yeah, they scored 24 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So they were much in this one, and unfortunately they ended up losing. But like you said, Herbert did whatever he wanted to in this one, and it was a big win for the Chargers.
Yeah, gigantic win, and I mean, again, it was because there's so many teams in the mix for that playoff spot, for that final playoff spot in the AFC, and the Chargers right now have it, and the Steelers were actually ahead of them. Now with this win, they are
5-4-1.
Yeah, so they're a half a game ahead of the Steelers with a tiebreaker edge. The Bengals won, so if they'd lost that would have been tough for them because the Bengals would have surpassed them. So right now they maintain their spot in the in that division. I mean in that conference, and so that's obviously that's what you're looking for. At this point for the Chargers, you're still in the mix for the division. And by the way, the Chargers actually have a tiebreaker right now. They still have one game to play against the Chiefs, but they did beat Kansas City. So they have a tiebreaker edge in that one as well. So that's something to, they could steal this division from the Chiefs. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. So, but right now, that was huge because it was against another wild card team, Pittsburgh. It was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You faced adversity. Justin Herbert overcame it. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler looked great.
Looked amazing.
Yeah, they did their thing. They were able to run the ball more effectively.
Austin Eckler was straight dominant in this one.
How many rush yards did they have as a team?
They had, let's see here.
They must have had because Herbert himself had 90, so it must have been a pretty damn good day overall from them.
159.
Okay, so wow, it was all Herbert for the most part.
Yeah, Eckler had 50.
Yeah. So right now they're just a half a game behind the Chiefs, with a game against them. So if they can just keep right here and beat the Chiefs again, I think the next game is in LA, by the way, then that means they could win the division, and to me, I think they are a very legitimate team. I think their best football is yet to come. I view them in the same way as I view the Chiefs in that I don't think we saw their best. I think we saw a flash early of what their best football could be when I think they were like 4-1 or whatever. But I don't think that it wasn't all happening at the same time yet, right? And for the Chiefs, it still isn't, and for the Chargers, I think we're starting to see it all come together. If we can have more success running the ball with the running backs and make sure we keep doing that with the running backs, and then Herbert can sustain anything close to what he did last night with the defense, being able to get after a quarterback without blitzing, they're going to be dangerous. They're a dangerous football team, and I'm definitely back on board with the Chargers. By the way, going into this game, the Steelers had not lost in 5 straight games, right? They had a tie last week, but other than that, they hadn't lost the game. Ben Roethlisberger was 4-0 in his last 4 games, and the Chargers had lost 3 of 4. Mm-hmm. So that just logic in and of itself would have said, hey, maybe they lose this game to Pittsburgh, but they were in complete control for most of it, and then they squandered it and then got it back. That was very impressive, in my opinion. So I guess you want to talk about the Monday night game?
I mean, there's not much to say about it other than the Bucks dominated.
Yeah, it was disappointing, man. I as someone that was rooting for the Giants in this game, it was disappointing. It really was. It was just complete.
Tom Brady threw it 46 times in this one, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, that 1 pick on a broken play, whatever that was. But
no, it was a bobbled pass. Yeah.
They were just. Did you see how it happened? They didn't know Godwin nor Mike Evans was not. It was Tyler Johnson, but
they didn't know who was supposed to. But mm-hmm. it hit Evans right in the chest.
Yeah.
So he should.
Like you said, it was a tip ball. But other than that, I mean,
I don't want to talk about that Tom Brady 10-yard scramble.
Yeah, he was fired up.
That set the tone early, and and then the Giants, after that interception, they go and score, and it's a 10-10 game. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, the Bucks outscore them 20-0.
Yeah,
that's disappointing, man. It's very disappointing because they played this Tampa Bay team extremely competitively in Tampa Bay on a primetime game last year, and the Giants are better than they were last year.
Danny Dimes is not.
Well, he's having a pretty good season.
Well,
he obviously didn't.
23 for 38 for only 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks.
What'd they do running the ball?
They only ran it 13 times,
and
10 times minus what Daniel Jones had. Saquon had 6 for 25.
It's like, why even come back if that's going to be your workload? And it makes me mad because I know people are going to say Saquon's washed up. I don't know that yet. I just think that he's not healthy. We could have said the same thing about Christian McCaffrey 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you have to be healthy to play.
Yeah.
And if he's not fully healthy, he should sit out until he's fully healthy because 6 for 25 is not helping.
Gonna win you football games.
Yeah, it's just not like they need to be able to hand you the ball 25 times. You know what I mean? No matter who you're playing. And so I feel bad for anybody that started Saquon. I'm sure I told a lot of you guys to start Saquon, but at the end of the day, I thought that with him coming back after the bye week, that he'd be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kadarius Toney, I don't know if he lit up the stat sheet.
7 for 40.
He looked good tonight, though. He looked explosive, dynamic.
Yeah, 12 targets.
Yeah, and there was a play where he lined up in the wildcat and launched that thing deep down the field. They started to throw the flag and they picked it up.
Yeah, they showed some highlights of him being a quarterback in high school.
He can throw the football, so I would love to see more of that look because that is unpredictable, and that's the biggest part of playing offense in the NFL is being unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the Giants tonight were extremely predictable. Guess what? We don't think we can run against you, so we're just going to try and pass. And, oh, by the way, we know that you have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, and you're not bad in coverage either. You know, look, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a pretty damn good defense. We saw the Washington football team last week dispel that way of like, the Cowboys attacked them in a similar way, right? We're not even going to try and run it on you. We have the best trio of receivers in the NFL with Dak Prescott. We're going to throw it against you and take our chances that way. We've not really seen that work for many other teams. Why? Because you don't have what the Cowboys have in that way, right?
Yeah.
Those three receivers for the Cowboys, Gallup, Lamb, and in that game it was Gallup, Lamb, and Amari Cooper. Those three guys can get open against anybody, and they can do it quickly, and Dak Prescott can get the ball out of his hands. Like, Washington ran the ball like 35, 40 times last week against them, and they put the game away with a late drive, consuming a bunch of clock, and ultimately getting in the end zone, I believe it was, and icing it completely. So, you know.
I mean, it is what it is. The Giants suck. The Bucs got a get-right game at home after losing 2 straight. So, tough loss for the Giants, but, you know, tough season. You need to get rid of your play-calling guru.
I really think
and Jason Garrett, he's awful.
I really think he's got to go, man. Yeah, I really do because they're just not – I mean, look, even in their last 3 games, 17 points, 23 points, so that's what – that's
he's bad.
40, and then – 10 tonight, so 50 points in their last 3 games.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
It's not enough, and you have talent there. That's the thing. Even if they sit Saquon for another week, the talent is there. You know, Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton. You know, I mean, they've got talent. The offensive line's getting better. It's just an embarrassing performance. I know Giants fans are probably already on Twitter freaking out about it, but
yeah, probably.
I get it, man. Let your anger out. I understand. So,
we'll that pretty much wraps up week 11. It's tough to say because there's only 3 weeks left in the fantasy regular season. I don't know. It's getting bittersweet because it's like this
it's
every
so
year.
fucking quick, dude.
It goes so quick. But yeah, that wraps it up. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment what your favorite matchup was of the week. And
if you started Saquon Barkley, I apologize.
Yes. Yeah. Tough start. But we will catch you in the next one. Peace.